It's time for MacBreak Weekly. What a panel today. Dave Hamilton's back from Mac Geek Gab. We've got Andy Ihnatko from WGBH in Boston, Rene, Ritchie from iMore, and the return of Alex Lindsay. And there is a lot to talk about, including Apple's congressional testimony. Did they lie? We'll talk about the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, my kind of final, thoughts about that, and what went wrong with iOS 13, and what is Apple going to do to fix it next time. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 689, recorded Tuesday, November 26th, 2019. Step away from the gummy bear. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Epson's EcoTank printers. This holiday, kiss expensive ink cartridges goodbye. The Epson EcoTank printer comes with a ridiculous amount of ink. Just fill and chill. Check out Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. And by Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology's Advanced Technology Center is like no other testing and research lab, with more than $500 million of equipment, including solutions from key partners like Intel Corporation. And it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all the ATC offers, go to www.com/twits. And by Metallic, a Commvault venture. Metallic provides enterprise-grade backup and recovery technology through simple SaaS delivery. To sign up for your free 45-day trial, go to metallic.io/MacBreak. And for a limited time, through December 31st, 2019, with a one-year commitment, your first 3 months are free. It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Yeah, it's time to talk about the latest stuff from Apple. Rene Ritchie's joining us from iMore.com in beautiful Montreal. I think the frost is on the pumpkin. At least it's on your beard. I don't know. Is it cold out there?
My river is freezing, which never makes me happy. It looks beautiful, but man, is it chilly.
From Frozen River, Canada. Rene Ritchie. Andy Ihnatko also joining us from his home in the frigid East.
Yeah, well, now it's frigid for 2019. It's a frigid 59,
what?
58, 57.
It's warmer there than it is here.
Yeah, I know, and I'm now I preset all my heating stuff way too early, and now it's like I'm wearing this because I don't want to be sweating on. I don't want to show my sweats.
Always the question in New England: is it time to turn the boiler on? When do you turn the boiler on? Because once you turn it on, you really want to run it all through the winter. You don't want.
Don't make any plans for Saturday. We're taking down the storm windows.
Oh, that's the other one. Storm windows.
Well, I just hope that we can get to them, because remember that we had that snow blowout all the way in March, so we might have put that in front of the windows.
I do not miss that.
Sometimes dead is better.
May as well get to the gutters, so long as we got the ladders up.
And out here in California, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alex Lindsay in the house. Hey, Alex, good to see you.
I just did the gutters this morning.
Oh, yeah, he did the gutters. There were a few leaves in them.
There were some leaves in them. They were wet. It was wet. It was gross.
There were wet leaves. We had wet leaves.
Pipe down, Lindsay.
Yeah.
I don't know how we survive out here.
I know, it's rough.
We do have fires, but that's another matter entirely. Also joining us from the Mac Observer, Mr. Dave Hamilton. Hey, Dave.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I cleaned my gutters on Saturday, and it was just frozen enough where I could grab a sheet of ice. No, it made it really easy because it all just came out. It was cold, but it's fine.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're in Upper New York State, I want to say. Is that where you are?
I'm in New Hampshire. I'm about an hour north of Andy. Yeah.
New Hampshire.
Just a shout out to all you kids out there. Cleaning gutters, putting up storm windows, just part of what you can expect in our youth-oriented MacBreak Weekly. Because you don't want to get an ice dam, okay?
All right.
I had those heated wires up in the edge of the roof. Did absolutely jack squat. You just got to get up there with the ladder and the push broom.
Let's just for something for the youngins. Birds don't exist. Birds aren't real. What is that, Dave Hamilton? It's a movement.
It's an ironic conspiracy theory. You know me. I emotionally support all conspiracy theories. Intellectually, I can only support a few, but emotionally, I cheer them all on. And
we all
do,
this
right?
is
this is one of the ones that I love. Birds are surveillance drones. cleverly disguised as things previously known as birds.
A fleet of covert technological surveillance devices unlike anything the world has ever seen, says Tricky Dick Nixon, 1978. We called them birds. And apparently, the dead giveaways during the government shutdown, did you see any birds?
Not many.
Only scabs. Only scab.
Only Canadian scab birds.
That's right.
Those
I mean,
Canadians.
I know
down.
times are tight. Got to do what you got to do, but you cross the line. I'm just saying, you got to be called out for it.
So, a few stories about Apple. How about? What do you say? I just want to say, loving the MacBook Pro 16-inch. Now, I used it to process all my trip photos, and I was a little concerned because Lightroom is not notoriously fast, even on the iMac Pro. Lightroom is kind of a pig, and I knew I was taking with the new camera, which is 61 megabyte file, 61 megapixel camera. And actually, I think the MacBook Pro processed them a little faster than the iMac Pro. I was able to go through them in real time. I was really impressed. So
yeah, people are getting good results. They've been all over Twitter lately. Like especially YouTubers are rendering stuff 4 times faster.
Noticeable.
Going through Lightroom much faster. It's terrific.
I don't know if it's the GPU or the 8 cores. I got the i9, but it sure seems to be eating up everything I can throw at it. And yes, that keyboard, it may not be, Andy's code keyboard, but it is a great laptop keyboard. I think
better. Yeah. Tyler Stallman posted his DaVinci Resolve export numbers today, and it used to take him a couple hours to go from Canon Raw Light into ProRes, and it took him, I think, 45 minutes this time.
That's nice. I'm actually thrilled. So just to kind of follow up, because, we all do the first looks and the quick reviews, but, sometimes it takes a week or 2 or 3 or a month.
I'm still letting it settle in.
You haven't bought it?
No, I don't buy new hardware immediately. I mean, not computers that I actually have to work on.
Come on now. And next month, there's going to be a computer with your name on it.
Oh, no, I'm going to get one. That one.
Unless that enclosure is big enough to house a family of 4 in a kitchen, I don't know. A lot of people are going to have to wait for that.
That new Mac Pro will be built in the brand new Mac factory in Texas.
Thank you, Don. Yeah.
No, says the New York Times. Always the killjoy New York Times. That Mac factory in Texas is not new. It's been making Macs there since 2013.
And it's not Apple's, right?
It's Flex. It's not even Apple's.
And it's assembling parts that were manufactured in China. But hey.
But remember, we were saying, watch Tim's face while he's standing with the president, and just to see if his expression. No. The Times actually was a little bit snarky at the last paragraph of the story in the New York Times reads, on Wednesday, Mr. Trump called Mr. Cook a very special person because of his ability to create jobs. He turned to Mr. Cook and said, "What would you say about our economy compared to everybody else?" Mr. Cook replied, "I think we have the strongest economy in the world." Strongest in the world, Mr. Trump said. The president then took questions on the impeachment inquiry and launched into a tirade against the fake press. Mr. Cook stood silently nearby.
Yeah.
A little shade from the New York Times.
Probably somewhere between that and a pile driver would have been the more acceptable response.
I feel sorry for him. I hope that I live long enough to read his memoirs after he's decided to retire from Apple, so we could talk about that sort of stuff. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have to spend his time in the dunking booth after that, because that's the price of the deal that he's made. But yeah, we all knew that this was going to be a horrible day for Tim to have to stand next to Donald Trump and a live mic where people are asking him questions that he.
Trump announced that this was a brand new factory.
Yep.
He said, we're here opening this new factory, and by the way, I should point out that happens. Politicians they fly in, Mr. President, it's a brand new factory. We're going to, and they just say that. So I'm not sure I could blame Trump for that one.
And there is a brand new campus being built.
There is a new campus with 15,000 new employees in Austin. In fact, they broke ground on that just the other day. But I feel kind of sorry for Tim, who's hearing this, knowing it's not true, and I guess nobody dares. He didn't dare say, "Oh, it's It's an old factory.
But
I guess.
he's still on the hook for this. Is not like a politician promoting a certain policy or promoting the American economy, which is usually how these things happen to work. It reflects well on the president. That's fine too, or the senator who's opening this factory. But it's usually about here's how strong the American economy is. Here's how manufacturing is coming back to the United States, whether that's true or not. But when you know that a politician is going to be using your facility and your company and your prestige as a promotional thing to send untruths to this politician's followers, it's doubly disappointing that Apple doesn't find some way to not send a press release saying correction to Mr. President's statements, but at least to say we're very, very happy of the work we've done in this facility since 2013.
You could say that
with all the employees and it's very, very disappointing.
It's the state of the world. People are really afraid of a tweet from Trump, and they just don't want to cross
and have the
it.
CEO of Flex march out there.
Never stand up for a principle unless you have no fear whatsoever about.
So we debated this a little
happens.
bit on Twitter on Sunday, and at least one panelist said, "Look, he's doing his job. He's a CEO. He's got a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders and to do the best for Apple."
That having this be smoother is worth billions to Apple.
Yeah.
It's easy to say that. It's easy to be high and mighty about what he's doing when you don't have a company that needs, that
it's terrifying because
right
literally,
in between all of this stuff.
Literally, the president could, in a tweet on his way home, say, "And the tariffs are back on," and all of a sudden, Apple's really in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. So, and also the president of the CEO of a company being terrified of the retribution of a president who takes a personal attack in his individual power. That's not a good thing. I see. Again, I will not cast aspersions on Tim Cook's character, but and I do agree with the fact that you have so many jobs that you're in control of. You have let's not even talk about responsibility to shareholders. You talk about people who actually count on Apple, even as a subcontractor, to make their living from. However, that part of that responsibility includes that, again, you have to do this stuff means that you have to sit in the dunking booth for a while and not complain about it, because it's other people's jobs, journalists, people like us, to point out that this was what was said in front of Tim Cook's presence was not only true, it was not even half true, it was absolutely not true, and Apple did not choose to correct that statement. Again, you have to sit in the dunking booth. At some point, you towel off, you accept that this is something this is part of the deal, this is part of the gig.
Well, but and you're right. That's part of the gig. That's exactly it. Is he knew that people would offer this correction, and he could get away with not having to offer it and not being the one that's getting, retribution or anything like that.
That's a good point. He can let others carry the water.
That's being very generous. I'm trying to find that balance point between not trying to villainize someone for being in a bad position that they felt this is what they had to do, and not trying to idolize them for doing not trying to give them a free pass for recognizing that there was a brave thing, a risky thing they could have done that they chose not to do. I'm saying I'm not going to praise them for saying, well, what could they have done? Well, again, he could have found a way under the under official Apple statement to correct this stuff, to make their positions very, very clear on where their interests overlap with the countries and with Trump's, and where their interests overlap with the population and not necessarily the government. And this they declined to do. Again, that doesn't demonize them, but I'm not going to say, well, what could they have done? Again, they could have done something very, very brave, which would have been very brave and very risky. But I'm not going to say that it was a laudable thing that they did not do the brave thing.
Well, it's
but should they have? But because by the time
I don't want to keep talking about it. That's fine.
Okay.
However, this is not brave. Apple has told Congress. In fact, they did this the day before. You'll hurt yourself if you try to fix your iPhone. This is from Motherboard. Apple testifying. Actually, it was their vice president of corporate law, Kyle Andier, testifying before Congress over right to repair. Apple repeatedly denied accusations it was making it hard for people to repair their own phones and protecting a virtual repair monopoly. But as Motherboard points out, a lot of what Apple said just doesn't jibe. For instance, they said the phone is too technical for the average person to repair without special training, which, of course, Apple refuses to give them. That doing such repairs could be dangerous. That's not untrue. You put a battery in there wrong, it could be a problem. and that it costs Apple more money to do repairs than they charge. That might be a little bit of a fib. They claimed that they lose money on repairs. A number of third-party repair companies said, well, I don't know how that's possible. We charge less and make money. So how is Apple losing money? And the speculation is Apple's including the cost to numerous recalls in the money that they're losing.
Also, the little repair shop, the cost of employment for a small repair shop is going to be very different than Apple. When you talk about health insurance and all the other things, and probably a higher salary and so on and so forth, the people who are working there.
You think Apple loses money on repairs?
I don't know whether it does or not, but I can tell you that I look at the number that they're doing. I couldn't do it at that price. I couldn't manage that process at the price that Apple's doing it at. I mean, as someone who has to figure out how much things cost, when I think about the amount of time and the number of people that handle it, and how it comes out, they're not making a huge profit on it. If they're making any money on it, this isn't a profit center for Apple. I just really don't buy.
So you think
this is
that
all
when
about
Apple
Apple making
says
money?
We don't want third-party repair companies to repair our stuff, they're really saying it because it's unsafe for
I think they're managing liability, because of the issue is that the chances of an average person being able to put their phone back together and have it work well is low. And no, I'm not talking about a techie person like us. We're saying an average person.
No, but the right to repair extends to third-party repair shops.
Right, exactly.
Right, okay, and I'm fine with that as long as the third-party repair shop registers that phone that we worked on this phone, and we take liability if anything goes wrong with this phone. Apple can give that to a third party as long as they. And
in fact, Apple has, and I should point out, just recently started giving training and parts to certain third parties, to approved third parties.
But I think that what's important is for every phone that third party works on, that serial number goes in as we worked on this phone. And this is what we did to this phone. So that when that phone catches fire,
the consumer knows that.
Yeah, but when the phone catches fire on a plane, no one's going to know. When you think about the PR impact of that, no one's going to know whether it was replaced or not. No one knows whether somebody worked on it or someone worked. All they know is that an Apple product caught fire. And I am very sensitive to this because whatever happened to the 2015 laptop, I couldn't fly with it in Asia. So you think
when Apple charges $549 to fix the glass back of an iPhone, that they're losing money? $549.
I don't know, because I don't know what it takes to do that. I don't know what kind of glass. I don't know whether it's there. I don't know.
All I know is that if I spend $1,000 for a phone, and the Apple's offering a replacement or a repair fee that is more than I think I want to spend, and someone says, "Hey, I can fix it for $60." It's my phone. I bought it. I own it. I should be able to pay this person $606. And remember that we're not talking about me in my office trying to fix like a component level repair on my own. We're usually talking about, here is a person who I FedEx my phone or my laptop or my iPad to them. They FedEx it back in a week or two. There's almost if you own like a really better example. I have a couple of typewriters that I actually use a lot, and so there's a typewriter repair shop in Arlington, Massachusetts, Cambridge Typewriter, that does an amazingly good job. They are experts. They've decided to become experts on fixing all kinds of typewriters.
But so I think an iPhone.
But again, iPhones are exactly the same way. You can buy. There are YouTube channels of people who will do component level repairs and upgrades. Nintendo Switches. People who will. There are parts that tend to fail, like the chip that's right near the charger. There are people who know how to replace just that discrete component, and they don't have to charge you for an entirely new board or an entirely new device. So I just think that if third parties are not artificially blocked from access to learning how to fix these things, and consumers are not artificially blocked from seeking repairs on a device that they own in whatever means that they want to engage in. I just think that that's okay. There's nothing. Well, it's good for consumers.
I think Apple is starting to roll out a system that third parties can actually do some repairs. I will say that I would never, ever have someone other than Apple work on my phone. like that is just crazy. Well, it is a crazy idea. It is stupid. It is a stupid idea.
It's not stupid.
Apple's managing not only liability, but the customer experience, right? They want everyone to be delighted using their iPhone throughout their time using that iPhone. And if you get some janky third-party repair, that's doing something that Apple would not do, well, you might wind up with a repair that works for you, but isn't Apple's standard of here's what the iPhone experience should be, or the MacBook, or any experience.
It's just that there's so much.
We're consumers. We're not children. That's all I'm saying. We're not children. If we want to
Alex has a point that Apple would be blamed for that exploding iPhone, regardless of why it's exploding.
By stupid people, and they would be innocent. That's not the consumer's problem.
Okay. If that repair shop is willing, if they register every phone that they work on.
That's basically what's going on with this independent. So Apple has independent repair program where when repair is needed, you can go to an independent repair provider. They've got Apple components. They have Apple training. They have Apple diagnostic tools. I'm pretty sure Apple did this in response to the right to repair movement. They felt like it was hurting them. That it was bad PR that they looked like they were blocking this. But I think this does jibe. I have to say, Alex, I'll give you some credit because this does jibe with your contention that Apple's not against you having third-party repairs, but they want to make sure that they're done safely and properly.
Yeah. We should not. The TSA is not making a big deal about batteries because they're not a big deal. Like they're not.
But
doing
airlines
something
are.
silly.
I got to tell you, I couldn't.
What I'm saying, all the airlines and TSA, the reason they're worried about that is high capacity batteries. Yeah. The batteries that we're doing as we get more and more time on a smaller and smaller space.
You've been on a plane. I've been on a plane recently where they say if you lose your phone in the seat, please
do not move it.
Do not move your seat. Call a flight attendant because they're afraid of people moving the seat, crushing the phone, and causing a fire.
And when I was in Asia a month ago, when I was in Cambodia and India, on every screen all the way down, it says you cannot take an
MacBook
Apple
Pro. Yeah.
MacBook Pro 2015 onto this flight. You can't check it. You can't carry it on. You
Cathay
can't.
Pacific said that.
And that is what I saw when I saw that. I was like, that is horrible PR. To have every airline across an entire airport have this huge LED wall that says you can't take your computer on. That's the kind of stuff and that's when it sunk in for me. That's what Apple doesn't want. Like Apple wants to make sure that whoever's tearing it apart and putting it back together isn't going to lead to that. And I don't think it has to do with money. I don't think this is
a
some
problem,
kind of,
though. Apple
conspiracy theory.
Not just Apple, but every phone manufacturer put themselves in by making these sealed batteries in phones. Remember, for a long time, we could buy a phone that you pry the back off, put a new battery in. It was an easy thing. It wasn't even a repair. It was just a swap. I used to always buy extra batteries with my Samsung Galaxy phones because then I wouldn't have to worry about it running out of battery.
But if we want that size and we want it to be water resistant,
it's not
we want
that
all those
much bigger.
other things.
Well, water resistance maybe. Okay.
I mean, like all of those things there's a lot we get by having it not.
It's also structural. I mean, like the Galaxy phones would squeak. I had a bunch of them. They would just squeak all the time because the case would.
But we're paying. I mean, there's a large price for the fact that these phones now are just landfill.
So the only thing I wanted to add is that Apple generally, like for these kinds of things, it's not usually about money. It's usually about control. They make so much money off the iPhone and other things that all the things like MFI and repairs. It costs them a fortune to repair MacBook keyboards, for example. Like that is a huge loss leader for them. But in general, they want the control over it. And one of the reasons is what Alex said. It's fear of litigation. But the right to repair, I think, is fundamental, but also the responsibility of repair. And I was once talking to a very famous repair person, and I was talking about, they get passcodes from all the people who bring the phones in. And there have been several incidents of people repairing stuff who take off all the photos and show them to their friends and upload them. And they said, well, it's like going to the doctor's office. You drop your pants if you want the treatment. And I had to point out very politely that doctors go through rigorous training and licensing, and they have insurance. And there's all these things we do to protect consumers. And right now, as much as Right to Repair wants regulation, and in part, you have to acknowledge that a lot of these are for-profit repair centers. Like Apple may not make a lot of money, but that's a lot of money to the companies that are selling repair, especially online repair products and parts. But they're going to bring the responsibility that comes with it, and that's going to include privacy protections and protections against fire and because these are not inert materials. These are very dangerous materials. I think that they should be licensed to go along with all the rights that they absolutely deserve to have.
Well said. You've changed my point of view.
No, I think we agree. It's just a responsibility. It's like Spider-Man, right?
Again, all I will say is that I'm a consumer. I'm not a child. I spent money for this laptop. Sometimes I spent $3,000 for this laptop. And this company is saying that I don't have the right to do a board level repair of a component that will cost me $300 or $400 to somebody that I choose to trust, as opposed to trying to do a $2,000 board level replacement or a $3,000 replacement. That is up to me. And if I'm going to take the risk of
trust, it's not up to you. You don't know who you can trust. I mean, there's all these companies that have set fire to people. People have died.
I don't want to start.
And
I
that's
don't want to
not
start.
like you can trust it.
I do have to point out,
we regulate everything.
People have died.
We regulate so many things. Baby toys, and we regulate like the curtains on blinds. We do a lot of things to protect people from themselves, and we have not everything, but a certain degree. Like lithium-ion batteries need a certain level of regulation, and I think it's just like it's a responsibility that comes with repair.
I do have to point out,
this is not like a baby seat.
I do have to point out,
this is replacing a screen. This is replacing a battery.
It is worse than a baby seat.
I do have to point out that
I'll let
there
that
are
stand
laptops, Lenovo laptops, ThinkPads are quite famous for being very upgradable. You can upgrade.
Yep.
You can swap out the keyboard. You can swap out the battery. You can swap out the RAM. Lenovo doesn't suffer some sort of huge litigious risk by doing so. And people who want that can buy a Lenovo laptop.
And they should.
Unfortunately, Apple has a monopoly on iOS and Mac OS. So if you want iOS and Mac OS, you kind of have to do it the Apple way.
And I think
we see this all. This is a very
those
common.
are safer to swap and repair too. Like Lenovo makes them for you to do it.
Well, but maybe Apple should be doing that.
Well,
maybe totally.
Apple's 5% of the
Apple
market.
has decided
if you don't like
not
the way
to.
that they run their business, you should get a PC.
Right.
You know, like I mean, I'm just like this. It's not. They have a monopoly over.
No.
I mean,
I'm not.
I get it.
I'm just pointing out.
But I'm just saying that
consumers have a
choice about what they want to do. They're buying into a environment or not.
But this is the.
This is not a surprise.
This is a regular refrain from people who want to use iOS and Mac OS is Apple way or the highway, and doesn't mean we have to sit back and accept it. It's just the way it is. But
that's part of what makes iOS and Mac OS delightful to use is that it is Apple's way or the highway.
Well, I don't know if it makes it honestly, I don't think it makes it delightful.
Well, it's like Nintendo.
But it is the way it is, and
it's the way it is.
Your only choice is to do business with another company. It's why Hackintoshes exist, unfortunately. And I think
that the right to repair is a 1% issue. Like that's the issue. That's the problem. Is there's like 1%.
It isn't. I'll tell you why it's not. It's about landfill. It's about waste. It's about making a lot of devices like the AirPods that have no future except in a landfill. And I really think
I've heard Apple address that.
Well, they need to address it more actively. And I think one way to do that is to say, okay, you can, we've got to give you a way to make these things repairable. Otherwise, they're just landfill fodder. In fact, one senator said, we don't need to have right to repair.
Yeah.
These are disposables. And that is the wrong attitude.
That happened in New Hampshire, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
During legislation that was blocking that the actual quotas in the near future, cell phones are throwaways. Everyone will just get a new one.
Yeah. And I think that is an attitude we want to fight, because I don't think that is sustainable in this world for very much longer.
I don't think making
their argument.
I don't think that would greatly change.
Their argument is that
I think that's the issue.
Part of the reason that they fight so strongly for their beliefs around repair is that these things aren't responsibly disposed of. And when Apple and Apple licensed people are doing it, part of that licensing process is the way that they are disposed. They're not thrown in the garbage. They're not chucked in landfills. They're brought back and disposed of responsibly. You can choose not to believe that, of course, but that's their argument.
Well, my argument is that when you look around on the subway and on buses and on the streets and you see people using a phone, any manufacturer, with a cracked screen, it's not because they dropped it and the screen cracked. They thought, you know what, I actually like it that way. That's unique and that's wonderful. There's a reason why they don't have that phone replaced or they don't have it repaired. It's because they can't afford it. And if there's a way to extend the life of that device to make sure that someone doesn't have to spend another $300 to replace a budget phone, or doesn't have to extend a contract another 2 years and avoid the ability to switch to a different contract if it will do better for them, I want consumers to have that right. And I want any artificial barrier to be removed. It's okay if Apple or any other company is saying, look, this is a MacBook Air. We can't use it, put it together with Phillips head screws and make everything, on little trays you can lift in and lift out. I get that. But when there are purely artificial, purely dogmatic, purely ideological reasons why you're not allowing someone who at one point laid out money to own something to not have control over that device and not do what they feel as functioning adults is the best thing to do for them to have that device working, that is wrong. That's just not something that a great company engages in.
All right.
When
we're
comparing
going to take
Apple,
a break. Stop.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to put a cloture on this.
Why do we always have fight during the holidays?
Come on.
The part you did, you prorogued us, Leo.
I prorogued you. And now the queen has to step in.
Pierogies. That's what I'll make.
We got lots more to talk about. And this is why I love our panel. You guys are great. You have strong opinions. And I think you argue your opinions very well. That's my biggest problem. I go, oh, yeah, Andy's right. No, Alex is right. No, Andy's right. And so I'm just going to step back and let you all decide for yourself. I have to say, there is an argument to be made that one of the reasons this new MacBook Pro, for instance, is going to be reliable is because everything's glued down. There's nothing rattling. It makes it hard to repair. But it does make, the fact that there's not a M.2 card screwed into the motherboard for the RAM, but it's actually chips surface mounted on the motherboard.
We talk to our guys all the time about how they set equipment down because it's constantly, like we always talk about soft hands. We put it down and you just don't want to hear it bang.
Right.
Because people will just set things down and it works that time, but you do that 1,000 times
it's going to shake it up.
To come apart.
Yeah, laptops don't last that long as a result. Our show today brought to you by I think this is an innovation that everybody can get behind. Epson's EcoTank printers. How often are you in the middle of a print job and the ink cartridge runs out and you got to go to the store and get more ink cartridges? I always have like extra ink cartridges lying around, but that's also not very economical. EcoTank just solves this, and I really commend Epson because, frankly, this was a risky thing for them to do. They said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put tanks, not cartridges. A lot of companies, they sell their printers at a loss because they know they're going to make the money back on the cartridges very quickly. You can buy a $50 printer with cartridges that cost more. It'd be cheaper to throw the printer out every time than to buy new cartridges. Not Epson. Epson says, look, we want these printers to last a long time. We're going to build in a tank, actually tanks for each color, nice, giant, supersized, easy-to-fill tanks. And when you buy the printer, it's going to come with 2 years of ink in the box. And when it comes time to buy new ink, thousands of pages later, you're going to get up to another 2 years of ink. And so it just means fewer trips to the office supply store. It's not going to run out as fast. It's just a great way to do it. Every EcoTank printer has supersized, easy-to-fill tanks. You can't fill them wrong. The bottles are keyed to go, so you can't fill them wrong. They're no drip, no spill bottles. And I know this because I have 2 EcoTanks, and I filled them both, and I have to say I haven't filled them since. It's been more than a year on both of them. This is really a revolution. It's changing the way people print, and I have to think it's driving the other printer companies crazy. Less frustration. And because it's the holiday season, I think you should get one for your friends and family, too. Why not buy an EcoTank for mom and dad? Why should they have that frustration? You'll have more time to treat yourself. Print all those wish lists, letters to Santa, holiday cards in gorgeous color. Yes, they're color. I think the Epson EcoTank is a perfect holiday gift, so add it to your shopping list. You, too, and your family and friends can fill and chill. Check out EcoTank printers at Best Buy, Staples, Walmart, Target, Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Transform the way your home or office prints. It's great for an office, too, I should point out. They have office. They're all in one, so they have office style. They have home style. Epson, EPSON.com/EcoTankLeo. Do away with out of ink frustration. Epson EcoTank printers. Just fill and chill. Epson, exceed your vision. Epson deserves a pat on the back. When a company does something like this that's good for consumers, I think they should be. We slam companies at plenty. This is a good thing. And speaking of landfill, no more cartridges in the landfill, right? Epson.com/EcoTankLeo for more information. Thank you, Epson. Okay, here's another thing to get mad at Apple about. Actually, I understand this one. I actually sympathize. They have pulled all their customer reviews from the online store. As of November 17th, the ratings and reviews section from all product pages on the Apple website are gone. Here's why I'm sympathetic.
Is this real, though? Is it a permanent thing? Because I don't want to
website.
get outraged and then they come back with a new review module in 2 weeks.
Wouldn't that be funny? Okay.
Because it's the internet. You know, those things
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I think it's from the website, not from the app.
Are
Like
they in
it's-
the app? Go check
Yeah,
them. Oh,
I'm
they're
in
still
the
in
app.
the app.
I still see. There's
So maybe
still
it's just a web
reviews.
redo.
I think it's.
Oh, you know what? Man.
Maybe they set the foreground and the background color of the
I think it could have been
stars
as
the
simple.
same color.
I think it could have been as simple as, hey, we don't want to manage
I've done that.
the connection.
Well, I'll
The
tell you
socket
what. We
connection to
used
the
to have,
web.
I don't know, you probably remember this in the earliest days of the show. We put it up on it was a Drupal site, and there were comments on it. But I stopped that because, half the time it's some disgruntled fan saying, well, he never did. And I just didn't want people coming to the sites to
Or
download a
spam
show
links.
and then see all the negative reviews.
Fan links.
So I just didn't want to.
So
So
it does look like they're still in the
they're still in the app.
itself, and I mean the web. I guess what I would say is the web page is generally the link to the app. Like I don't. stay
Well,
in the
most
web page
people don't
very
have the app, especially people who
Also,
don't
if
have.
you click through the questions, you get taken to what I think is a WebObjects era Terabad CMS.
Well, that's part of the problem. Is they're moving away from that. I think I heard that they're stopping. They're not going to use web objects.
And
Yeah,
it's
and
objects.
so
But it
again-
does look like all the reviews are still in the app.
Okay,
so they're
so
not getting
they're
rid
in
of
the app.
reviews.
I'll get angry if they're gone. I just want to make sure it's worth getting angry about.
I don't think it is.
Like I said, I'm not that
think
angry.
I think they need to be there, and I think it would be silly for them not to be there. I get we don't want negative reviews, but it's not just Apple products that are for sale at apple.com.
Well, that was
There's
part of Micah
third-party
Sargent's
products.
point is that when he goes there to buy, especially stuff that's exclusive to apple.com but is not made by Apple, that's when you really do want those reviews, right?
Well, and doesn't Apple want customers to buy from them in like especially these third-party things
Right.
from them instead of, say, Amazon, and
Right.
Amazon build their whole business on having reviews.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
What I will say
I
is
think
that
they're coming back.
my
Okay.
guess is that if Apple takes them down and keeps them down, it's that we spend a lot of time picking this stuff.
Yeah, we
it's not like
think
going
it's
to
good.
Amazon,
It's in the
because
store
Amazon,
because it's good.
There's 20 of the same,
Right, you
exactly
need
the same
reviews
thing.
on Amazon.
On Amazon, you're trying to figure out which one is which, and I always go to Amazon and I look for the worst reviews to see what broke. And do I think that this is going to be a problem when it breaks for me?
Right.
Consumers are smart enough to parse reviews and be like, okay, wait a minute. This is one guy complaining because he's the one person that got the, damaged shipping box that wasn't even the shipper's fault. It was,
I don't know if all the
FedEx
consumers
drove
are-
are it. So
It'd also be nice if Apple decided to open up access to reviews. Amazon reviews are a huge problem because they are so ripe for abuse, so the ability to have an outside service basically scrape those reviews and say, yeah, it turns out that most of these reviews are fake from accounts that we've been seeing popping up and all across Amazon everywhere. So it can sort of validate what the value of that 4.5 or 5-star review is. If I were writing the code for that, I would the ones that would get bubbled up to the top would probably be the 3.5 and 4-star reviews, because to my mind that means that that's a mixture of 5-star reviews from legitimate people who didn't really think that hard about it and they reviewed it immediately, 3-star reviews to people who've been using it for 2 or 3 months. I want to see the curve. I want to see the statistical curve of how many reviews were put into each category before I decide whether I would rather go with a 3.5 or 4-star product than a 5-star product.
I always like the long reviews, in Amazon where someone really breaks it
Thoughtful.
down.
Yeah,
They're like,
thoughtful.
they're like, because
Yeah.
I write a couple reviews, and mine are always these like long pages of like, this is what I found, and this is how this is, and they should fix this, and it didn't work, and I never give any 5-star review.
Yeah, but see, if I saw your name on a review, I'm going to read that and read it hard and trust it, right?
I've been thinking
Well,
about
I think
time lapsing when I have to put things together. Like here's the and then put it up as the video. Like here's what it actually took to build that chair, because it's
exactly. No, the one time I got into it with somebody who reviewed one of my books, he didn't understand what the book was about, and so he thought it was going to be about X. It was clearly about Y. That's what it was described as. He gave it a 1-star review, which was of course the thing that kills you, because it's like, this has nothing but like 4.5. This one single 1-star review is totally harshing my mellow. And I had to explain to this person that This book is 287 pages long. Now, you're telling me that if you got this book that purports to be about special tricks you can do to get content on your iPod or iPhone, and instead, Ted, every page had simply the text, "Hey, Ted, you're such a loser. I have your money now. Ha ha." On 273, it would still be a 1-star review. You're telling me that there is no way you could have been more disappointed with this. So, yeah, it's starred reviews need curating.
I'll give you an example. I was about to buy this 5-pound bag of sugar-free gummy bears.
Why?
Because I'm a keto diet and I love gummy bears. And then I read this review.
Because you're having some plumbing work done, and you know you're going to be without your bathroom for a few days.
It said, delicious, but sweet mother of God, the absolute agony I was in after consuming a handful of these little balls of concentrated evil can only be described as being in anal labor for 20 hours.
But still 3 stars?
On the plus side, I lost about 8 pounds of water weight. So
you sure it wasn't gummy weight?
I'm glad I didn't buy that 5-pound bag of sugar-free.
Well, but they gave you advice, right? Tasty, but only if consumed in the right intervals.
Yes,
so
about 2 bears every 6 hours.
Anal labor.
For internal use?
Yeah.
I'm afraid that
people who have bought this bag have often bought the book "Everybody Poops" along with the same purpose. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that's why reviews could be life-saving.
You know, the ninja thing with reviews is that if something goes wrong with your device, you think that you should go up and complain about it. But someone sent me something. It was a chair or whatever. It was missing a hole, like a screw. The screw couldn't go through because there was no hole. So I sent them an email.
That's a fair way to
No, but I sent them an email and I just said, hey, it didn't come with all the pieces cut out. And I said I haven't reviewed this yet. Can I get another one? And they were like, sure, we'll send that right out.
Yes, John wants to show another 5-pound gummy bear review. Well, wait a minute. One gummy bear, 5 pounds.
Oh, man.
Thanksgiving size.
Take a bite out of that.
That'll save you a lot of time.
Is that a gummy bear or a gummy chair?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
20-pound turkey stuffed with that one gummy bear.
Oh, good. Look at the disclaimer there. That's right.
Color of your poo. Otherwise excellent.
Why is this how food reviews on Amazon go? Do we go exactly
this is from
to the
actual
outcome?
How is
nurse.
this connected to Apple?
Yeah. No, you're right. This is not.
I'm sorry. We've gone on a serious rat hole there and found gummy bears at the end of it.
Well, gummy bears aren't at the end. That's the problem. Every one of those reviews takes it to the next step.
From the gummy bear.
Just remember, gummy bears are made out of horse hooves.
Are they?
Gelatin.
Put the bunny back in the box.
There are no vegan gummy bears? I want a sugar-free vegan gummy bear.
Horse hooves.
Okay. Let's get some positive stuff. Positive. Apple's launching, I think this is a good move, Apple Music for Business.
It's crazy.
Not
really makes sense. But
I was like, clear, not for business time, for businesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is actually
for retail business.
Retail, not for getting down to business.
So this is actually a big business to get into.
It's huge.
It's an odd thing to get into. Like it's odd for a consumer company to get into it. But the issue is that you can't just legally you can't just plug your iPod in or iPhone or whatever or Bluetooth and play it at a store because that's a public performance. And it needs to be ASCAP, BMI. There's royalties that have to be paid. You have to track it.
Like, this has to be the worst job than being a meter maid. There's even guys who walk around into stores and say, excuse me, but is that licensed?
When I worked at a restaurant, we had an 8-track tape. This is in the 90s. We had an 8-track tape because it would always just keep repeating.
Yeah.
And you just pop different ones in, but those were all registered, and they were, and so that it was licensed by, and it's usually not a lot of money. But the problem is it's managing it. This is by moving, Spotify's doing the same thing.
Are they doing this too?
Yes, and by moving to this, it's actually good for the artists because the artists are going to get the royalties for stuff instead of it being general, like, well, we think that they kind of played whatever from the thing. They're now. You'll know what played at Macy's or what played at
Pandora's done this for a while, but I still go into the nail salon or the hairdressers and they just put Pandora on the speakers and they just play it.
But the key is to make it easy.
Yeah,
as you make it easier to be legal, It makes it,
And
there's a huge opportunity for the artist to get more money. There's a huge opportunity
so it's
for
the
everyone
right
to be,
thing to do.
Oh, yeah, it's the right thing.
And you may well get a letter. I know businesses have gotten letters from ASCAP BMI saying, well, now you owe us $3,000.
And it's going to be like for like a nail salon is probably $10 or $20 a month.
Pandora for business is
it's all dependent on audience size, right? Like how many people are there that you are playing this public performance of this song for. I've played in cover bands. I'm a drummer, and I've been in bars when like a rep from ASCAP comes in and says, "Okay, let me see your," not to the band because the band don't have any money. They go to the bar owner and say, "You're supposed to be licensed." And if they're not, I've seen bars get shut down over this.
Ooh.
Again, it's all dependent on audience size and how frequently you're playing these songs. But I think it makes a lot of sense for Apple to get into this. I know some folks say, what a weird business for Apple to be in, but they've already got all the relationships in place. They've already got all the songs. All they need to do is, turn this other revenue stream on. But it, like you were saying, Alex, I mean, this is super helpful for businesses that want this stuff because they don't have to live in fear of who's that next person that just walked in the door and are they going to bust us and give them a headache that is totally unrelated to the business that they're actually doing, like selling groceries or doing your hair or whatever it is. It's just
it'll actually give them a lot more freedom
and be done
because if they want it to be legal. A lot of times they're using very limited playlists and all kinds of other stuff because that's all they can do.
Yeah.
So this is
and Apple's curating these playlists for people too, right? As I understand it. So you get like something that's tailored for the type of people you expect to be coming into your establishment too.
It'll be interesting to see if they do what Vegas does. A lot of the Vegas hotels don't want to pay that thing. And so there's whole studios that make covers of the songs to get around some of the rights.
You can cut out half the rights if you do that.
Cut out half the rights by and so they'll make the song close to it, but not quite. and so there's all these. And if you look at Spotify, like when there's like the covers of Def Leppard and all this other stuff, that's from that.
Never search for Beatles on Spotify because half the time you're going to get a fake. You're going to get a fake song.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this, but they've got this as an app. By the way, it's brought to you by somebody called the Play Network. So Apple's not even. I guess the licensing is being handled by a third party. But it's an app. You have to sign up for it. You get an 8-digit code, and then you can put it in your app on the iPhone and the iPad, and then just play from. So it's really just as easy. This is where it really works because Apple makes the hardware, too. You don't have to buy a special box or anything. It's just as easy to use it as it would be to use Apple Music. And the reviews are in. 5 out of 5 stars. Oh, and here's some good news. You can also family share your Apple Music for Business.
Between 4 stores all owned by siblings.
Yeah, right.
But you can family share the app, not necessarily the
code.
service, right?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Right. They should really Apple's getting away with something here because they should have the in-app purchase price. I was hoping they would so I could see how much it would be, but it's not on.
Yeah, you have to sign up and have a conversation with somebody to get
we need to have a conversation.
Custom pricing. And you got to buy a bundled HomePod. That's what we got to tell you.
Yeah. Let's see here. Apple and Intel are suing a SoftBank-owned firm. SoftBank's in a lot of Dutch these days after the WeWork debacle. They were a big investor in WeWork. Apparently, SoftBank owns Fortress Investment Group. And Apple and Intel jointly filed a lawsuit last week accusing FIG of violating U.S. federal antitrust laws by pursuing, quote, endless, meritless patent litigation. It's a patent troll. Or as they say in the non-libelous language, a patent assertion entity.
Can't spell assertion without.
And Apple and Intel argue that Fortress-backed entities, that's the other thing a lot of these patent assertion entities do, is they create lots of smaller entities, all with headquarters in East Texas.
Right.
They've sought billions of dollars from the two companies. Billions with a B of dollars from the two companies over the years, forcing both tech giants to spend millions of dollars on outside resources like counsel and expert witnesses to defend. So among the other entities Fortress backs are Unilock, DSS Technology Management, and 7 Networks, also named in the lawsuit. So,
I think a small administrative change in the courts would fix almost all of this.
Well, I thought we passed a law, did we not, in Congress that made it harder to be a patent troll?
Well, I just think that if you made it easier to move the venue,
that would do it.
If they made it almost automatic, that if a venue rules
if it
more than 5% one way or the other, then you automatically can move the venue. If you were able to do that, then East Texas wouldn't matter, and then all these patent things, because once on their face they would lose, they go to East Texas because that's a business, there to mess it up.
Yeah.
That, and I think that I really feel like if you file for a patent, there should be a certain number of years before you have to bring it to market, and if you don't bring it to market, you can't enforce it.
Right.
Like, it's just, maybe you don't lose it, but you can't enforce it. Like, the first 7 years of your patent, you have that time to actually get it off the ground, and if you're not going to get it off the ground, then other people can do it, because right now we're in this kind of crazy hold.
That's a tough thing, though, right? I mean, because what if you're bad at running a business, but good at creating these things that are actually, listen, I'm the first person to say that.
The intention of a patent was to protect you to make the product, not to think of the product, but to make it. We've twisted this whole process over the last couple hundred years into this idea that I can just think something up. It used to be you had to build like a little version of it and send it to the patent office, and then
you don't have to do that anymore.
It was not designed to do what it's doing now. And the bottom line is, it'll only last for a certain amount of time. If you look at if you go back and look at TikTok and you look at the share culture that's going on there, those kids are not going to understand this, and eventually they're going to be congressmen, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, we don't get this at all. We're not going to do that." I mean, you have all the content is based on somebody else's work. They're not going to. The next generation's not going to get this at all.
No, this you're right. This will go away. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I've always said if you want an idea to be worth $100, write it on a $100 bill. That's like that. Ideas aren't worth anything without execution, but some execution takes time. I guess. If you can show that you are working towards that and making some sort of progress, you should be able to protect the intellectual property that you've created during that progress. And where I have an issue is putting a time limit on it. Maybe a time limit with no progress, sure, but otherwise,
just bring something to market. Like that, that's related to that. It shouldn't take 7 years. That's all I'm saying. It shouldn't.
Sure. Yeah, fair. Yeah. Maybe 7 years is the right time, but maybe you can file for an extension and there's a consideration. Yeah,
but you can't automatically just keep re-upping it.
Right. Yeah.
Let's take a little break. When we come back, I want to talk about Apple TV. Now that we've had it for a while, and there's a big debut coming up, Thanksgiving Day,
and one not coming up.
Oh,
yeah.
And one not coming up. Stay tuned. Oh, that's a good tease. Thank you. As I've been told many times, teases don't work in podcasts. People just skip the ad and go right to the meat. Don't skip this one. You're going to be sorry. Our show today,
unskippable.
It's unskippable. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology. If you are a buyer of enterprise technology, you need to. In fact, I'm sure you know about WWT already. But if you don't, you need to know about it. And most importantly, about their ATC, their Advanced Technology Center. They started building this 10 years ago, and it has grown like Topsy. There's no other testing and research lab in the world like the ATC, partly because of WWT and their partnerships with so many great companies. They have been able to put in $500 million in equipment into the ATC from hundreds of OEMs and key partners. High-tech heavyweights like, yes, Intel, but Dell EMC, HP Enterprise, Cisco, the little guys too, Equinix, lots of companies are in there. And the reason you want them all in there because this is what the engineers at WWT use to spin up proofs of concept, to learn about the devices, to create pilot programs for you, their customers. But here's what's so cool about this. Yeah, you get all the benefits of WWT using it. But you can use it too. There are hundreds of on-demand and schedulable labs representing the newest advances in, anything you might be interested in. There's Intel Optane DC persistent memory. Whoa. Whoa. multi-cloud architecture. A lot of people doing multi-home clouds, multi-home clouds now, and that's a big deal. But you got to try it before you buy it, right? Artificial intelligence, IoT solutions built on Intel platforms, like the world's only. This is amazing. The world's only Intel FPGA acceleration lab. And the thing about these labs is, yes, the engineers at WWT use it, but you can too. I'll tell you how in a second. Intel Select Solutions Labs for technologies like VMware vSAN and other cutting-edge solutions based on Intel's second-generation Xeon scalable processors, Intel's new tier of Optane data center persistent memory. It's all in there. So here's how you go. Here's how you learn about products before you launch, how you can see how new products will interact with your existing solutions. And you can do it yourself because they offer the lab, the Advanced Technology Center, Lab as a Service, they call it. It's a dedicated lab space within the ATC where you can perform your own programmatic testing using all of this vast technology, this whole ecosystem that WWT's put together. And because it's virtual, you don't have to be in St. Louis. You can do it anywhere in the world, anytime, day or night, 24/7. You'll be working side by side with those great WWT engineers who are working in the labs beta testing new edge-to-cloud solutions based on the latest and greatest Intel technologies, building reference architectures and custom integrations to help you make better decisions, to see results faster, to reduce the cost of using state-of-the-art gear. WWT has launched this new digital platform. They launched it this summer. It encompasses the entire ATC ecosystem. And I think the benefits you get, and it's not just the labs as a service, it's articles, case studies. You get the hands-on labs. You get all the tools you need to make a huge difference to really help you do the right job in today's fast-paced world. To learn more about the WWT ATC and to sign up for access on their new on-demand lab platform, go to wwt.com/twit, create the account, get started. WWT, Worldwide Technology, simplifies the complex. wwt.com/twit. Please use that address. Let them know you saw it here. I think you'll be glad to. WWT, delivering business and technology outcomes around the world. And you know what? They're really nice, too. They're great people. We've actually, I don't know if I'm saying anything out of school, but we're planning a couple of live events with WWT. We're very excited. I don't know if we're going to be doing them in St. Louis. I think we'll probably do at least one in St. Louis. But what we've been doing with partners, we did this with LastPass last year and was so successful. We want to do this more this year. It's a chance for us to bring the shows out into the world. We did one in Austin at South by last year. We did one with LastPass in Boston. So at least with WWT and some other sponsors, I think LastPass, we've got 2 more set up. We're going to start getting out into the world and see people.
That's crazy.
You should help us.
I'd be happy to.
You could really help us with the AV. Yeah,
I can make it look good.
Yeah. That's Alex Lindsay. He is Mr. Pixel Core. He's also online at the Twitter at Alex Lindsay, SAY. That way you can find out what he's up to. You're always doing something. And the Twitter is the way to follow you. But you're taking some time off for the holidays. I like that.
Off of Twitter?
No, off of us. I mean, off of the outside world so you can be with us.
Yes.
You're going to be here for a while.
Yeah. No, I'm
a week.
No, I'm going to.
When do you go back on the road?
Right now, February.
Okay, so maybe we can expect you on the show from next few months. That's great.
Absolutely.
And bringing your son in, who is, I just learned, 12. I remember when you were born. You were doing MacBreak Weekly when he was born.
I think I have a picture of him sitting on your lap in the mixer.
Oh, my God.
I have to find that. It's
Alex, could you pinch his cheek for me? Oh,
Come
my
here.
God, he's grown up so much.
Here we go.
Everybody needs to.
He's not a little boy. He's a little man.
Look at
isn't
him.
he?
Look at him. Look at him. He's so cute. And look at his shirt. He's got the a new element in the table of periodic table of elements. It's the element of confusion.
I'm very familiar with this element.
Thanks for coming. Happy birthday. Thanks. All right. Now sit down.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
His birthday was a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah, it was Sunday.
12th birthday.
Yep, 12th birthday we had.
Isn't that huge?
Yeah, it was
Isn't
great.
that huge?
We're still cleaning up the gallium.
Did you see Apple's Christmas commercial?
I hated it at first, but they won me over at the end.
It made me cry.
Oh no, it's not.
I didn't like them babysitting with devices. That part really felt bad to me at the beginning.
You know what? That's funny. I thought the same thing. I still cried.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. I'm thinking, that's terrible.
Well, the kids flipped it on him. The kid's like, we're not going to just play video games.
Can I play this without getting us pulled down?
Only one way to find out.
Jeez, you're bad. Apple, if you're listening, I want to play your commercial. They're charging you millions of dollars to play it on Monday Night Football. I want to play it for free on this vast broadcast network that reaches Apple enthusiasts all over the world. Surely you wouldn't pull us down.
And we always say such nice things about you always.
Oh, look, they're not even letting me play it. It's
they know, Leo.
They know. They've blocked it. All right. Anyway, it's actually an interesting ad, and I wonder if Apple knew that people would get pissed off. I think they did, Rene.
I think they did, too.
I think the whole O. Henry twist of it is that you feel like a Scrooge at the beginning, and then you go, oh, that's what they were doing. Oh.
Well, it's clear that the family is not just dysfunctional because of the loss. They're unable to function, and they're using everything as a coping mechanism. And then the twist is that the kids, instead of just zoning out and playing video games, are the only ones who are capable of bringing the family back together through the miracles of technology.
Through the miracle of an iPad.
But they're innocent. They're not old enough to understand. It's by repressing their emotions and suppressing conversations is why we have peaceful holidays in this house, young man.
Good point, Andy.
Just enough alcohol, but not too much.
At least we're watching the football game. I'm watching it. And of course, at the very end, there is a moment where you just go,
yeah.
And Lisa says, are you crying? I said, yeah.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
You're crying. Anyway, again, Apple's really good with the ads.
Yeah.
Is it the same? Do you know who the
I shared it on
record is?
I think it's Apple now.
Are they doing it in-house?
And they do a lot of it in-house. I don't know for sure.
They have their own agency now.
They have their own internal
agency.
Yeah,
wow.
But I shared it on Twitter, and a guy wrote back saying, I'm a recent widower, and it's raining on my face.
Crap.
And I just lost it at that point.
Yeah. It is the same thing that happens in Up. So
yeah, it's the backstory.
It's the backstory of Up, which also the first 5 minutes of Up or 10 minutes make me bawl my eyes out.
Yeah, without any
words.
Dialogue. Like, that's crazy.
All right, let's talk about Apple TV because that's the good. Now the bad. Actually, I want to amend my review of the morning show because the first couple of episodes I thought, this is, you could see all the money if that's the goal, but I'm not grabbed by it. But by the fifth or sixth episode, it's too bad. But it took about 5 episodes, and then I'm starting.
Seinfeld a season.
Yeah, true. I think the morning show is it's not great, but it's pretty good. It's 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, which actually annoys the showrunners. Mimi Leder and Carrie Aaron said at Recode Decode, when those bad reviews came in, I didn't know what show they were watching. I just thought they were nuts, said Mimi Leder. I just felt there were a lot, and this is an interesting point, a lot of Apple haters, she thought they were reviewing Apple. They want Apple to fail.
Yeah, see that's always a good look. Getting really, really hostile and defensive to bad reviews. I'm always on the side of the creator whenever I see that response.
Right. We're focused on this.
I mean, it's like she hasn't read a review before. That just seems. I mean, of course, there's going to be bad reviews. There's going to be more bad than good.
Right.
So take it.
Just wait for the Snyder cut.
And I want to say that even though I didn't pan it, I just said it's not great. There's a lot of beauty shots of Apple products in it. It's overly. For one thing, there's a lot of dark shots, and I think they're trying to show off the HDR features of the Apple TV.
The bitrate is amazing, both on Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus. The bitrate is amazing. It makes Netflix look lazy.
Yeah, I feel like to some degree, the production elements are designed to show off Apple gear more than they are to further the story. But it's not bad. It's
the detail on those sweaters in that scene by the fireplace.
The sweaters are great.
Is that deep fusion on TV?
Now, on Thursday, I am very excited, but this is based only on the trailers. The M. Night Shyamalan series starts. So Servant. We just got news. They've already renewed it for a second season before it even debuted. First 3 this is what Apple's been doing, which is first 3 episodes will come out on Thanksgiving, ruining Thanksgiving for all of us. And then every
how can
Friday.
you watch that on Thanksgiving?
I'm watching football. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about this. I like Shyamalan. He's controversial. There are a lot of people don't like his stuff, but
I think he's paid his penance. He had a lot to answer for after The Village, particularly.
I like The Village.
I like The Happening. I like The Village. The Happening is they lost me at The Happening.
You thought we got into a fight about Apple and right to repair. Don't get me started on The Village.
Good. All right. See, this is exactly what Shyamalan does.
But nobody liked Airbender, right? Nobody liked Airbender.
His last few movies have not been great. His first, I See Dead People. That was a great movie, right?
Right.
I love Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, I thought was good.
Amazing.
As long as Bruce Willis is in a Shyamalan movie, it's good.
I didn't like the last one. I thought the last one ended real bad. Yeah. The Glass.
So, do we want to say anything about Servant? It's just spooky as hell looking. And apparently
it's already been renewed.
Just in case you're wondering, yes, it does happen in Philadelphia. And like Shyamalan, his all of his are all like a Philadelphia.
He must be from there, right?
Kind of like,
I don't think if you've seen the trailers, you'll know it's about a family in mourning, and they hire a young nanny to take care of their kid. They give the kid a baby doll, and then mayhem ensues.
There you go.
So what, Alex, you said
the banker.
The banker.
Banker was suddenly pulled.
What's the banker?
We don't know
I don't even remember the banker.
The Banker is based on a real. It is based on a true story of two, I believe, it was African Americans who fronted a bank to provide a wider spread of loans, and they hired they brought in a white guy to front it. This is in the 50s.
It's got Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Yeah, I mean it's.
How can anything with Samuel L. Jackson in it not make money?
There were charges of historical inaccuracy and also of some sexual misconduct by someone on the production team.
Oh, man. Can you imagine how much money is shot? I mean, look at this. I'm just looking at the trailer.
Well, it actually isn't that big of a, I mean, it's a well-shot movie, but it's not, Apple didn't produce this one. This one was bought, I believe it.
So now it was going to have a theatrical release. Is it not even going to have the theatrical release?
It was supposed to headline a film festival at an IndieWire event, I think. Yeah. And it was pulled like days before its debut at this festival.
Came out.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, but it was a purchase movie that they picked up.
So really you can't blame Apple.
Well, you need to back off, figure out what the story is, and then decide what you want to do after that. Yeah. So that was, I feel like that was a responsible thing to do.
So they've currently delayed the theatrical release. Apple was supposed to
AFI Festival
at the AFI Festival. Yeah, the Apple was supposed to premiere it in January. Boy, I hate to see anything with Samuel L. Jackson not come out.
But that's one of the great things about these streaming services, where it's these movies don't disappear. They get released when they get released. If they manage to get into a theater in December, all they need is a 2-week run in New York and LA to qualify for the Oscars. And if they determine that we don't believe that any of our fears were justified about this, and we can legitimately release and stand by this movie, it can still be an Oscar contention. However, no one will have seen it, so maybe there's no point to that. But what I love about streaming services is that you don't have these things where in network television where they produced 12 or 13 episodes, they aired 3, and then they canceled it, and you'll never see even the 13 that were produced. Whereas the worst you can fail is that, well, we'll let you go a whole season, but that's it. You'll only get to do 13 to 22 episodes, and that's it. So if at some point, if it is appropriate for this movie to be released, with Apple not wanting to either bury it completely or sell it to somebody else, it will see the light of day.
Right. I just think when we talk about the Oscar contingent, I just wonder how long this is going to last. Like, that we really care.
Well, look at the Irishman, which people are raving about. 3 hours long.
The directors care, the actors care, the producers care.
They do for now. They do. I mean, we're in this
10 years from now, will they care? I don't know.
People don't grow up dreaming about one day getting a 3-year deal with Netflix and an 8% streaming HD share. It's like you dream about the speech you're going to give. You're in the bathroom holding your electric toothbrush, pretending that you're thanking your mom.
Yes,
powerful mojo.
We're all caught in that little vortex at the moment.
Fantasy, I know.
But the bottom's going to fall out of theaters. We all know that, right?
Do the
it's
TikTok
going
people care about that?
fall out. Like there's going to be some point in the next 5 to 10 years where thousands of theaters close. Like
I'm actually shocked it hasn't happened already.
The pressure's building. Like I look at right now, I will see a movie at an Atmos theater or an IMAX, and really just the Atmos theater at this point. And outside of that, I'm not going to pay that money.
We lost
here
in Petaluma. We had movie theater. Yeah. It closed. We had no movie theater. A bunch of sixth graders started a petition drive, and we built a movie theater.
It needs an Atmos.
It had. I don't know if. Yeah, it has Atmos. It has a giant screen Atmos. One screen. But here's the thing. It's a social event.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think for that reason, it may persist just because we still need places somewhere outside of our house that we can get together.
I think we need a social.
Disney is not going to be able to make $1 billion off of a movie that they make for streaming. I think that so long as there's this huge demand worldwide for these immense event movies that are just relentless.
Well, that's why we have so many
rides.
Marvel comics.
But that's that you want to see on a 60-foot screen and with amazing sound and amazing lighting.
But those immense movies do not pay for 12,000 theater screens.
Oh.
They pay for 2,000 screens or 4,000 screens. But they're not.
Well, but
so I don't think theaters are going to go away. I think that you do want to see. Yep. The big, like I went to see, my son and I went to see Midway because I like World War II movies. It was a horrible movie, by the way.
Really?
But it was made up for the fact that the sound and the audio and the thing was
Pearl Harbor
good.
was like that a couple of years ago.
Pearl Harbor was worse than Midway.
Bad movie, because it was great sound effects.
So Midway felt like, and I don't know how. I mean, I know a little bit. It felt a lot more accurate than Pearl Harbor. In fact, it felt like they almost slaved a little bit more
too accurate.
Yeah, to be more accurate about telling a story than Pearl Harbor was just like, we have a bunch of ships blowing up. It's not, that's about as close as it got.
So this is an interesting story then in this light. This is Variety. There was an art theater in New York City, the Paris Theater. It was the last single screen theater in New York, one of the oldest art movie houses in the United States. It was closed earlier this year. Netflix has decided to reopen it and keep it open.
Which is changing the law. Because you couldn't do that before.
There
was a Paramount. I think it was the Paramount directive.
It was a huge
Paramount
decision, antitrust decision
in the 40s, where
all the movie companies were involved because they both made the movies and owned the means of distribution, and it was a big antitrust settlement, and they were forced to divest.
Right, because I think one of the problems they had was that only theaters were, certain studios were only putting out the movies to their own theaters, and then it became this chaos.
You really can't be controlling both the product and the means of distribution.
But now they're opening it up because the theaters are going under, and I do think
it does. It actually proves your point.
And the irony of this is that
a streaming company is keeping it open.
The future, the streaming company is keeping it open, and also the future is actually, I believe, single screen experiences, single screen theaters. Because
look at the Alamo Draft House. Don't you love going to the Alamo Draft House?
I don't.
You go there, you have a beer, you have some tacos, you watch a movie. It's programmed, so even the shorts and the feature are all programmed together. You don't like it?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I like
no Atmos.
Great sound, great color,
I don't care
great.
About that.
Like I do, I care about that. I don't like people. I mean,
honestly, if that's what you care about, you will be able to duplicate that at home better.
I don't think so.
Steve Jobs Theater.
I'm not
there you go. Double
convinced.
vision and Atmos.
You can't if you look. If
you
go to IMAX,
get a nice big HDR 4K screen,
and I have that,
and you get a great surround sound system, and you sit 6 feet away. I don't know what the difference is, except you don't have kids kicking your seat.
Okay, so the difference between IMAX or Dolby Atmos and what I have at home, which is really nice. I mean, what I have at home is nice. It is night and day. I mean, the seats literally rumble, not because they have a rumble seat. It's because the bass is
They do
so
have
big.
those big.
Like the whole thing, everything vibrates, and I'm like, and you don't have anybody when you go to like let's say a Dolby Atmos or IMAX. You don't have those crazy people who are complaining about it being too loud. When you go there, you know it's going to be loud. Like that's why you went.
Do you think you're the majority? That's the majority? Because I feel like most movies we will watch at home. But there's a social, for instance, when the Star Wars movie comes out, we'll buy opening night tickets and we'll go because it's a social thing.
Yes.
And I think for event movies, that's what will continue to go to theaters. I think there's a whole bunch of movies that we used to see in theaters that are romantic comedies and dramas and all that stuff.
Those are going to be.
That's going to go away, and
that's
when
home viewing.
that's gone.
Yeah,
and when
movies
that goes
are going to be
away-
like going to concerts, right? When it's an experience that you can share and want to share with others, and it's a big deal, like you said, like the Star Wars movies and things like that. Great, let's go, let's all do it. But otherwise, the couch. And I think we need to certainly not assume that the past of this, movies need to make, billions or hundreds of millions to be successful is the future, because that is not how the music industry exists now. And it certainly used to be that kind of thing, right? You didn't, now you release an album and it's like, well, what does it take? 35,000 copies or something, and you chart, it doesn't take very much.
And the other thing is that I think that what we're going to see as it moves more and more towards streaming is a loosening of how those performances can be done. Because part of the reason that we see them in big theaters is that there's a huge amount of overhead and legality and everything else of a public performance of a movie. If we could have big 80-inch screens in Starbucks and have a coffee house and have dramas that we're going to have a drama night and we're going to do it but the problem is you can't do that right now because it's illegal.
But that's what Alamo drafted.
Apple has this thing where they can pump music into, like, they're paving the way for exactly what you just described.
That's what Alamo Drafthouse is. It's a taco joint that shows movies.
If it's not expensive, if it's not super expensive to go to it, and it's a casual thing, and we've all decided to go to watch this and have fun with it. I mean, like when you go to see,
people still go to restaurants,
right? And
you can cook at home,
exactly.
But there's a social element to that. You're saying if you added movies, then people would still go to movies.
I think if you made some for some movies. I mean, you look at like what is it? For some reason, it's the one where we all throw stuff around everywhere.
Rocky Horror.
That is you do not go to watch the movie. Everybody's seen the movie 100 times. You're going to do the movie.
That's a social event.
And so the thing is that but I think that also people like a book club or whatever, people would love to all go to the kind of movies that they want to see. Like I love they did it here in Petaluma, and I think they still do it in Nevada, where they have, and I almost bought a screen so I could do it. Is doing like outdoor in the park.
Yeah, they still do that. Yeah, a lot of places do that now.
That's so much fun, and it's actually not that expensive. That's not that expensive.
They're always terrible movies you don't really want to see, but who cares?
But you're having a good time. You're sitting on a blanket. You're on a blanket. You're hanging out.
Jay says something interesting in our chat room. He says Ford versus Ferrari, which is normally the kind of movie I would say I'll just watch that at home. People love it. It did $30 million the first weekend. He says you want to see it because of the cinematography.
Right. And so, but movies that go to theaters are going to have not necessarily big effects, but
they don't have to be Marvel Comic Universe.
They have to be big. They have to be big cinema. Yeah. The shooting really has to own the space.
And the sound design, which I use as an example because that was a Netflix movie, won Oscars, should have won Best Picture, probably didn't because it was a Netflix movie.
Right.
Alfonso Cuarón. It was an amazing movie in black and white. That would have been great in theaters. I think. In fact, because in order to get an Academy Award, they had to release in theaters for a couple of weeks, but it was never really a theatrical film. But nobody's going to release a black and white theatrical film.
No.
Yet, I think that would have looked fantastic on a big screen.
But I think it makes sense to say, hey, we're going to have a single theater. Like if you look at the San Rafael, not the San Rafael Theater, the Cinema One in Corte Madera.
Yeah, that's
Lucas's theater.
Lucas's theater, basically.
It's a giant theater.
Yeah.
Giant screen.
Yeah.
Little rundown.
Single screen.
Little rundown. Like what would be
THX
great.
sound. It was the first THX theater.
And what I'd love to see is someone come in with Dolby Atmos, for the screen, and then put in like a Meyer sound constellation system into the theater.
Right.
And then it's going to change every week. Like, here's the deal. There's going to be a great movie that's great to see on that screen, and you get one weekend during the week to watch it, and then we're going to change it every week, and people would, I know I would go not every week, but I'm going right now, I see 3 or 4 movies in a theater a year, and I'd probably go back to, one every month, maybe twice a month, into a theater that was really high quality.
All right. Question for you all. How bad is iOS 13?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I literally, I didn't realize, I didn't think I could ever get to this point where I've turned off automatic update on everything. Like, it's just like I'm just afraid of what's going to happen next on my Apple TV. I had an Apple TV that updated and then just died. Like it was just like it literally just stopped working. And so
iOS 13 is better than it used to be.
Well,
That's the best
after weekly updates over 2 months.
Of course.
It's the best version of iOS 13 ever.
That's right.
So, really interesting scoop from Mark Gurman. This is not something Apple has announced. Software chief Craig Federighi is overhauling development and testing of iOS 14 after what Apple considers a very flawed iOS
otherwise
13.
known as a disaster.
Yeah. They announced this at a recent internal kickoff meeting with the company's software developers. The new approach calls for Apple's development teams to ensure that test versions, known as daily builds of future software updates, disable unfinished or buggy features by default. Testers will then have the option to selectively enable these features. So I think this is addressing the issue that they had a huge public beta of iOS 13, and yet it's still shipped with massive show-stopping flaws.
Yeah, I think the article doesn't. So they're definitely doing this, but there was a lot of confusion about the article because flags are something that everybody does. Like people were saying Apple never did this before.
That's
this
what they call
every
this,
company.
this selective option turn on stuff.
They did. And what this is something different because it was just becoming impossible to internally test things. And a lot of stuff aren't public, like even in the public betas, things that affect upcoming hardware and things that are features that aren't released yet, those don't get put into the general beta pool, or when they're pulled, the beta is not testing them anymore. And internal people are going through, they call it purple restore. That's what they do internally because it comes from the Project Purple. But they're purple restoring their devices. They don't always have the latest thing. They can't always run the latest thing because their project needs them to be stable on something else. And this sounds like a better way of managing internal testing, but also modularizing some of the components that they're working on.
Gurman writes, test software got so crammed with changes at different stages of development in iOS 13 that the devices often became difficult to use. Because of this, some testers would go days without a livable build, so they really wouldn't have a handle on what's working and not working. He's quoting an unnamed source here. This defeated the main goal of the testing process as Apple engineers struggled to check how the operating system was reacting to many of the new features. So the other side of this is that iOS 14 will probably be more of a snow leopard update.
Oh, I hope so. I'd be okay if they just stopped working on anything new and just got this working because it's just, I'd never seen it. Like when my wife says, are we sure? Because everything we do runs through an Apple TV. And when she said, can we get something that's less buggy? When my wife says that, not me, I mean, I can be picky about
what bugs have you had?
Well, when it updated, our Apple TV stopped allowing you to move the cursor. Like you couldn't go anywhere in the cursor. And literally the only fix was to finally I had another Apple TV that was a test unit that I bought to test other things, and so I just put it into place.
I haven't had any problems with tvOS, although I do have one Apple TV after reboot frequently because it gets funky. I don't know if that's iOS or tvOS 13 or just I think an overheating Apple TV. I've had that problem.
And then my iPhone was doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
The iPhone I've had actually freeze. I was taking a picture and it not only froze, I had to hard reset it.
And then with Catalina, I got so many warnings from the production tools that I use that I haven't even thought about updating to it.
How much of this is just this software's,
well, for Catalina, the problem is they drop 32-bit. So that's a huge, there's
that's
lots
not a bug.
But there's a lot of apps that aren't ready yet for that. And so that's been a big thing for Catalina. I think a lot of this was just a lot of features. Yeah. Too many.
Yeah, well, I'll cheer at WWDC when Apple says, and in iOS 14, we've added nothing. That'll be the thing, right?
Well, they've already announced some new features. I know there's going to be new features, unfortunately.
I just have 2 requests from them, and they don't really, quality, yeah, absolutely, but it's just a quantity thing. Like iOS 12 to me was the perfect roadmap. Half the amount of features they usually cram in, and the other half of the time is spent not just paying down technical debt, which you can do, but engineering out of dead ends that they'd gotten themselves into in the past, things that caused the delay for products like HomePod because they had to go back and fix AirPlay with AirPlay 2 and some of the core audio stuff. But just fixing that stuff takes time, and you have to give people the time to do that. But also get rid of coming in September and call it starting in September, and then have a September release, have an October release, a December release, some February, March, whatever, and ship things over, like do a roadmap for the year, and then don't feel like you have to rush everything out because stuff gets delayed anyway. You might as well plan it successfully and not just always flood it.
From an engineering perspective,
Microsoft has done a good job with that with Windows. Google has done a really great job with that with Android, where yes, they'll have the big PR event where here is where the odometer ticks over to another integer level, but it's just a constant stream of features that become available as soon as they feel as though they're ready to go. So yeah, I would love to see that Apple do that. I think that's the best advice Rene could give anybody.
I like it.
Excuse me,
and
specifically Apple, because you give it to me, but I couldn't do much with it. So
we're all used to the subscription software model where it just evolves when the feature is ready to come out. And so let's do that with the operating system. It does screw with what developers can do, though, so they have to manage some level of that.
But if they're given clarity, like iMessage Sync was with 3 months delayed, if they just said it's coming 3 months later, everyone's fine with it.
Or especially if that means that you're telling developers, by the way, we have actually now locked down the API for this. There will be no further changes to this. You will not have to cancel the trip that you planned a month after the release of this operating system because you figured that everything that you would have to do in order to qualify for an App Store release would be ready and finished and enable. One of the most frustrating things, I think anybody who is in regular contact with Apple developers is that they just feel as though Apple is maintaining this adversarial relationship with them, where they're saying you do not have an option. Your app has to support this for iOS 13. Well, great. How do we support that? Well, we're still working it out. Well, do you give a sample code? Yeah, but in 2 months we might actually revoke it, and you might have to redo everything anyway. So I think that I think most developers would take that deal if they said that, by the way, you will no longer know exactly when the new feature is going to be released. You will not be given a date or a target. But the thing is, at this point, we know now that when we tell you that an API is locked down, we fix the bugs, you will not have to write this code a third or fourth or a fifth time. The ability to plan a trip to Disney World with the kids and not have to send your spouse and your kids off without you would be worth whatever other problems that are created by that system.
That requires a new way of thinking from Apple, though. That's not how they've traditionally done it, right? It's like, we're going to work on it until
that developers are human beings. It would be quite a shift. I acknowledge that.
Well, yeah.
They're robots.
Let's
They're
take
not puppets for your amusement.
Little time out. Then, if you would, get your picks ready. Dave Hamilton from the Mac Observer, also host of one of the longest running. Did we ever figure out if your podcast is older than this podcast?
I don't know that we figured that out. Mac Geek Gab started on June 13th, 2005.
Wow, I think it might be older. When did we start MacBreak?
I think, MacBreak itself, I think, was January.
Yeah, the video version is older.
January of 2005. But I think MacBreak Weekly was later, but I don't remember what the first date was. But I know that we went out. It was with Emery, who just closed a $50 million round.
What?
Yeah.
For what?
Frame.io. Congratulations.
Frame.io?
Yeah.
Congratulations, awesome. Emery.
Yeah, so it was Emery, and he's
nice job.
They are just taking over. So, but Emery and Amber MacArthur and you and I think that was how we started.
We did. It was the reason it was January because it was Macworld Expo.
Yep.
And then I don't remember when we started the audio version of it, MacBreak Weekly.
It came after that.
So you started before the iTunes Store was. Before the podcast directory.
Oh, that's for sure true.
Store.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were only in for about 2 weeks. I had to email Steve to make sure we got in the directory because it was happening so quickly.
I could tell you, actually. twit.tv/mbw1 is the first episode. You beat us, August 12th, 2006. But see, that's when we took it over.
Right, because
I think Alex was doing it longer than that. So
and we were releasing every week for MacBreak. After the first one.
Yeah, because the first one was 1080p, and no one.
We recorded 20 episodes.
We were well after you, but I think we had. This is not the first MacBreak Weekly; it's just the first one on the Twit network.
Right? Yeah, and because we were doing it, but we recorded like 20 episodes in 1080p in 2005, and then I couldn't get it done. So then the road to 1080p, we did one.
Yeah.
The first one was the live one we did, which was really fast.
Which nobody could watch anyway because no hardware could handle 1080p.
It was that.
That's how long ago that was.
Details.
But
he shot it on a old Lucas.
Yeah, I bought two
EX.
F950s, which were the Star Wars cameras for Episode 2 and 3.
The model cameras.
Yeah, but they were literally the cameras, not kind of. There was
the actual camera.
One was serial number for one was 0000, and the other one was 0010.
That's how hard it was to do 1080p back in those days.
Well, when we had two X-rays, an X-ray for each camera, to get what. So the speed that we had to get was we had to reach 228 megabytes per second, which now is on our phone. The phone will do that. And so, but back then it was a big. I built the camera. I built the first RAID. Built the RAID, not the first RAID. I built a RAID that was 130 gigs or something. It was a whole RAID, 130 gigs. But it was fast enough to capture from the camera. Then we got two X-RAIDs, and Mark Alamiel bought the other camera, and so because the cameras were even used. The cameras were $82,000 each.
So we're going to give you, Dave, the order of the oldest Mac podcast, Mac Geek Gab.
Well, at least here there were some
microphone.
There were some before, but
I'll
longest running.
Yeah,
I'll
give it to you.
Yeah,
we bequeath
Thank you.
Well, you're on episode 790, so we're only on 689. Right. So if for that reason alone, you're way ahead of us. It's great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're not done. I need a pick.
Joined like this OG panel.
I know. I love it. This is an OG panel, isn't it? iMore's Rene Ritchie is also here. He does the Vector podcast, which is newer, but
I'm a baby.
Very, very good at imore.com/Vector.
Yeah,
it's really excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Our show today, and of course Andy Ihnatko, who you'll hear every week on WGBH in Boston.
I take pride in being one step behind the mass media. I left newspapers to go into terrestrial radio. So
next he'll be doing 78 RPM records.
I'm hoping to have an Archie server on the ARPANET by 2020.
Maybe get Gopher first.
Gopher. Our show today brought to you by Metallic, which is just a great name. It's a Commvault venture. Metallic brings you powerful enterprise-grade backup and recovery technology through a simple SaaS delivery. That means it's easy to install, easy to use, and you're guaranteed to get fast, secure backups and granular restores to protect you against data loss. It's built on Commvault's core technology, but it's an easy delivery. It's unique because it'll scale across multiple workloads while mitigating the risk of data loss, security threats, and things like losing access to data in Microsoft Office 365. If your business runs on Office, that's a terrible thought. But thanks to Metallic, you don't ever have to worry about it. Also, a thing of the past, poor backup performance. It's fast, it's easy, it offers default storage through Azure, or you can bring your own. It has the capability to do backup, recovery, and migration from on-premises to the cloud. Some of the products Metallic offers are Metallic Core Backup and Recovery. That'll protect physical and virtual servers on-prem and in the cloud with comprehensive backup and recovery for VMware, for files, for file servers, Windows and Linux, and Microsoft SQL databases. Then there's, this is so great. I think this is so brilliant. Microsoft Office 365 backup and recovery with Metallic, which protects your mailboxes, your contacts, your calendar items. And it doesn't matter if it's on SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, or just on OneDrive. You get unlimited Azure storage, and I love this, and for a lot of businesses, this is a requirement, unlimited retention. A lot of reasons you might want to do that for legal reasons and regulatory reasons. That's Metallic Office 365 backup and recovery. There's also Metallic Endpoint backup and recovery. You have endpoints. You have desktops and laptops and phones. Protect them against deletion, corruption, and malicious attacks. And, of course, it's always secured with data, with encryption, geolocation, and, because these things often go missing, remote wipe functionality. With Metallic, you'll be up and running in as little as 15 minutes, and you'll get simpler data protection operations with less downtime and seamless scaling, and all with no big upfront investment. Safeguard your data. The business runs on it. With Metallic, they'll give you consistency, flexibility, and scalability because they're in the cloud. Whether you're protecting a terabyte or 1,000, safeguard your data now. I believe that's a petabyte. Whether you're protecting a terabyte or a petabyte or more, safeguard your data now and later with all the benefits of SaaS. with Metallic, a CommVault venture. To sign up for your free 45-day trial, go to metallic.io/MacBreak. Metallic.io/MacBreak. And for a limited time through the end of the year, December 31st, 2019, with a 1-year commitment, your first 3 months are free. Metallic.io/MacBreak. We thank them for their support of MacBreak Weekly. Time for your picks, boys. Boys, I could say that because Lori's out. Is she going to be back next week? Do we know?
Yeah, she's back tomorrow. I think she's touring in Japan with her band. She's sick burning all of Japan.
How has her Budokan performance been? Is it good? Is she getting great reviews? Or are the Apple haters going after her too?
If you go to Lori Gill on Instagram, you'll see the most marvelous photos of her totally rocking Japan.
So it's just, I can't wait to hear her. She'll be on next week.
Yeah.
We'll hear all about it. LORYGILL, right?
Yeah. Thank God for
Instagram.
1 L. 50 years from now, so many little kids are going to be able to say, Nana, you were such a rockin' badass.
No kidding.
Thanks to Instagram.
Oh, shoot. The account is private.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to have to beg her to let me follow her. Alex, Lindsay, why don't you kick it off with your pick of the week this week?
So I like to label things.
Are you
Tell me about it.
Are you one of those guys who has the light switches labeled on and off?
I don't have them labeled on and off, but I may have them labeled what they do.
Oh, God.
You know, which I get. I just want to say I get that legally because my grandfather, when I grew up, all over his house, the light switches would have, you remember the one that you was like a little circle and you rotate it and then you'd click it and it would press through into the plastic.
Oh my God.
And he had those everywhere. So
those
I grew up
crazy.
I grew up doing that, and I was thinking about that the other day because I now have this, which is this cube.
This is not a label printer. This is just a thing.
So this is a Brother Cube.
Oh, wait a minute. See, I have a Brother P-Touch, but it's got a keyboard on it. This doesn't have a keyboard.
This is like the one with the keyboard, except that it's just a cube and it just connects to your iPhone.
What?
Yeah.
What? Can I do it with the iPad? Because I like a real keyboard.
Yep. Anything that you want to. So it's an iOS attached. It's just Bluetooth connected, and then you have.
So it's just really it's a printer.
See, then you just go. I go. Okay, I want to put some text in, and I go. Leo's.
What?
Stuff.
But how do you cut it? Do you have a little? You need a little button to cut it.
You don't. See, I say, okay, I want
Leo's stuff. I'm gonna put this on all my stuff. Wait a minute. Whoa! Whoa! I got it.
That's the leader.
Oh, that's the leader.
Which, by the way, is useful. I keep that.
Keep that for
something. So what I do is I use these little leaders as I put them on stuff that I don't know if I'm going to label yet, but I can use a Sharpie on them. So I stick them on stuff all the time.
Little stuff. And is it already?
It should print it, yeah.
It's already cut,
and
it's beautiful.
And
oh, man.
Now,
the stuff.
There's a P-Touch Cube and a P-Touch Cube Plus. Get the Plus. Get the Plus.
I really want this because that keyboard's hard to use, and it would be so much nicer just to do this.
And it comes.
Can I do it from a computer, or does it have to be an iOS device?
Yeah, I'm sure that you can do it from a computer.
I feel like it's a printer.
I've never tried it.
It's just like a Wi-Fi.
Because it's so easy to get it working on your phone.
Oh, it's Bluetooth.
So when we're working, we'll have this thing sitting just somewhere, and everyone's just kind of you're just printing out lots of labels, and it is, and there's. Now the Plus also handles a lot of different widths and different types over the regular one, and it is super flexible, super easy. That you can very quickly print a lot of stuff out. So anyway,
so it'll take
lots of
different
little
widths.
Yeah, it has lots of different widths. I think its maximum is like 1.5 inches. I think.
Oh man.
Or 1 inch, and they have like 1 inch gold, and I have black and. I do white on black and black on white mostly, and I have ones that are really thin that go right on the edge of an SSD, and then I have other ones that are big that are easy to read it in the dark. I have like a whole little, and the thing is, I thought I was geeky because I've got like 12 different tapes.
I was prepared for this to cost $400, $500.
No, it's $100. It's $100. And the funny thing is, I thought that I was geeky. You should look down below. I think it's on this one. No, it won't be on Brother. It'll be on Amazon. So I thought I was geeky because I have like 12 different tapes, some different widths and black on white and white on black.
They got premium glitter, gold on premium glitter white. Ooh.
So I thought that I was geeky because I have this little box that carries all of those. On Amazon, you see a whole different world. There are people who have like cases that are just to hold all the different tapes they use with this printer. And, people are very geeky about, and I was like, oh, I should hire Those are my kind of people.
But Alex, that makes no sense. How would they organize all those tapes in a box without knowing what's in what part of the box?
See, that's the best part. You
label it.
Holy cats!
So if you go to like,
it's only
the
good news is $83 on Amazon, so it's not.
I do have to question that you don't have a label on the label maker, Alex. I don't know if you're really.
I was just noticing that.
Oh my God!
None of these people on Amazon have labeled their label maker. That's the first label I made with my label maker. Was I put it right on
label
the
it as label maker?
Oh, that's the wrong.
Yes, I did label it as label maker. Yeah.
See, that's how we know the quandary of
set
theory. There's some label makers that are.
Scroll down
and
see
if it has the case.
No, in some of the reviews, some people will
keep going to the reviews, Leo.
Yeah. You'll see people like with their they'll post like look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look, open that up.
What?
That's living. See, that's living right there. you got your little case. You got it with all your different tapes.
I think that on any dating app, if you have a case like this, you are required to bring it to the first date so this person knows what they're in for.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not label you. I'm saying that you're definitely in for something.
But it is
just going to label you.
So if you use this is a game card case, but it happens to fit these very nicely.
So
okay, fine. Okay, fine. I bought it now because I could get it tomorrow. So.
Buy it now, man.
And I put lots of things like my rice cooker. I
think we should replace John's label maker. This pathetic old. But wait a minute, he's got John's label maker has a label on it.
See,
it's called John's label maker.
That's authenticity, man.
Well, the what's important, like when you're
solidarity,
you really get into this in production because we've literally gotten equipment back worth hundreds of dollars from production because it had an address. Like there was an address printed on it, and so.
Oh, how many times have I kicked myself?
We got a package back from CT. You've gotten it, John. Yeah, so we get these packages back, and it's like $500 worth of electronics. And the only reason it was there is because we put stuff on it, And so, but I also use it for kind hints, like the rice cooker has a sticker on it that just says only use plastic, paddle, because we're using
little hints,
like that.
little things like that.
I didn't put a swear word in it, but I was scratching my rice cooker.
How long does the battery last on this thing?
I don't know. I literally don't know because I kind of just plug it in all before.
Yeah, you
I'm
can
into
use
production.
it with a laptop too.
But you can wander around. It doesn't need to be plugged in, and it's USB, USB-C, not USB-C. I'm sorry, USB micro.
Oh crap!
Aww.
So
cancel order within 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that. See?
Look at that. It's beautiful.
Anyway,
it's lightweight. It's portable, and you can print glitter labels. Oh, look at that.
And the choices of fonts and everything else is so much higher than the last ones.
I can't tell you how many times I've kicked myself, and I have a whole barrel of power supplies. Companies, I don't know why, don't print who the power supply goes with.
That's what all my power supplies. I sit around, I'm just like typing like.
Why didn't I do that?
There should be a law.
There should be a law.
There should be a law.
Because they fit, but they don't do anything kind of thing.
Yep.
Mr. MacBreak Gab, Dave Hamilton, what do you got for us today?
Easy for you to say. Yeah, I have a geeky tool that's free called TimeMachineEditor. All one word from TCLementdev.com. Time Machine will back up every hour, and sometimes that's a little bit obsessive, and other times, say when you're podcasting, you don't really want it to be doing that while your machine is, say, used doing other stuff. So I set this, it's evolved over the years. This thing has existed for a long time. And I set it up to back up when, what do I have mine set to? To back up when inactive. And then that's it. You just set it to back up when inactive, and it'll do it. And you, as you can see there, you can pick time windows. You can get crazy though. Like you can set calendar intervals and go nuts. And it even comes with its own terminal command line utility if you want to get more status or better stuff. So
can I set it to? I would love to change the number of snapshots it saves, or you can really fill up a drive with these.
You can set whether or not snapshots are happening. I'm looking at the TME CTL, which is the terminal utility.
Yeah, this is cool.
It's not, and it's one of those things you kind of, it's, Ronco, right? You set it and then forget it and you're done.
I'm going to say it's from tclementdev.com.
I think that's a better way to say it.
Yes. I think the guy's name
I may have been podcasting longer, arguably, maybe not, but you've been doing this broadcast.
I know where to split my URLs.
Yeah.
Andy Ihnatko. That's a good pick. Thank you, Dave. Andy Ihnatko, your pick of the week.
I have a two-part holiday pick. I wanted to remind everybody that the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving is airing on Thanksgiving evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC.
Is that the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, or is that a different one?
No, that's Halloween. Oh. This is a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. This is the Thanksgiving themed one. It's
available for purchase on iTunes for ridiculous
amount. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, that there's something about the appointment. Maybe it's just a generational thing where it's like, no, this is the time where if you tweet about watching this, you'll get like 1,100 people talk, I'm watching it too. Oh, this is my favorite scene. And there's something, and also the other thing is that again, if you're of a certain age, the Dolly Madison Zingers, which used to be a regional baked product that was advertised nationally, so that when I was a kid, it would be the only place I'd ever heard of Dolly Madison Zingers. It was the product was bought by Hostess, so it is now available nationally. So if you want to pick up like a little 3-pack of Zingers, you can have the Dolly Madison Zingers while you're enjoying a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. But ABC is also streaming it for free on abc.com the next day. And as you said, you can buy. I'm not even going to discourage people from buying it on streaming, because especially if you grew up watching certain animations like on broadcast television, and now you're seeing it like they've remastered it from the original film, like at 4K, and you can actually see like the shadow between the cell layer and the background layer. It's like, oh my God, I don't know why I deserve this, but this is wonderful, and I'm happy about this.
I'm sending a reminder to remind me at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, Thanksgiving, watch Charlie Brown.
Check local listings, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm sure it's on some reasonable amount of time. So by all means, tell all your uncles and your parents and grandparents to turn off the football that they're watching and switch over to Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Good luck with that, because I don't know. The other thing is, in case to everybody who's listening, in case this is the only time you get to hear a human voice say this, realize that your family consists of the people that you were issued at birth and the people that you decided to acquire along the way during your journey on life, and you get to choose which family you get to spend your holidays with. So if your genetic family causes nothing but stress and frustration and disappointment, you have other family you can hang out with. And also, hanging out with yourself and spending Thanksgiving alone is by all means not a failure. This is not. Remember that a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety is, you will find, actually optional, and holiday anxiety is, again, often optional. And remember that you don't have to go to places where you feel unloved, unsafe, and unappreciated. Spend your holidays in a way that heals you and nourishes you, and with the people that heal you and nourish you, and whom you in return like to heal and nourish. So God bless all of you.
Preach on.
Now I know why my kids aren't spending Thanksgiving with me. Rene, Ritchie.
It's because you're always asking them to fix your phones, Mr. Tech Guy.
Can you figure out how to keep that thing from blinking twice?
What is this TikTok? Dad, I'm not showing you TikTok. Stop asking.
I signed out of iCloud, but I'm still getting all my iMessages on my other laptop.
How come every time I say, okay, boomer, Google wakes up? I don't understand. Rene, Ritchie, your pick of the week.
I just checked my local listings, and Charlie Brown was on a month ago here, so I gotta find a U.S. No, I'm just kidding.
Because of the earlier harvest.
Yes.
So Apple has new smart battery cases out, and they are for the iPhone 11 series now, and you can get them in black, pink, and white.
Oh my God!
It's
got all three colors.
I had to put the pink case on the green phone so I could relive the 70s, Leo. I mean, that was an easy choice. They're essentially the same. They have the same design. That's, it's not supposed to interfere with antennas. It doesn't put your phone into plugged-in mode. It stays in mobile mode. But the new thing they have this year is a dedicated camera button, which is recessed in there. You hold it down for a hot second to launch the camera app. If you just click it, nothing will happen initially because they don't want it to just go off willy-nilly in your pocket. But if you hold it down, it'll launch the camera, and then you can just click away as fast as you want to take shots, or hold it down to take quick video. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like the volume key, so it won't work if you're using Halide. It doesn't work if you're using Obscura. I wish that they would just do that so it automatically does what the volume keys does, and then it's one consistent button to rule them all in every app. But for now, it's nice. Like I understand why they don't put it on the phone, because it's complexity and they're aiming towards simplicity. But having it on this case, I'm a real big fan of that. You just pull it out and go to work. It adds 50% to the battery life. Apple doesn't give hard numbers because it really varies. Like if you're just doing streaming video, it'll be like an extra 5 hours. If you're doing local video, it might be an extra 7 or 8 hours. But whatever you usually get during the course of your day, you'll get an extra 50% on top of that. It does add weight because batteries, they're a little bit heavy. So it feels a bit like a brick. You can throw it at somebody for self-defense purposes, totally fine. But otherwise, it's just, I'm a big fan of these. I like them way better than carrying a brick in my pocket if I'm just going out. I get really, really good battery life on the iPhone 11, except for, and Leo knows both these things, Pokemon Go events and traveling, especially when roaming. Both those things. Yep. There's no amount of artificial intelligence optimization, as Google has found out with the Pixel 4, that can get you through constant usage. That is purely an engineering battery cell capacity problem. So if you're going to do anything that requires sustained screen, GPS, GPU, CPU, any of those things, this will get you, if you used to get a day, it'll get you a day and a half. If you got you until noon at the airport, this will get you until about 3 p.m.
Now, do they make a model of this for the Google Pixel 4?
No, but I really want one so badly in plaid.
Apple could make so much money if they made a version of this for the Pixel 4.
I took it out. I did the usual thing. I took them out to the Pokemon Go event last weekend, and the Google Pixel 4 did not finish the event. I got 3.5 hours out of it, and I got 5 hours 20 minutes out of the iPhone 11. I wanted a case so badly.
And isn't it galling that all those beautiful, colorful creatures were allowed to roam free and live their lives instead of being captured by you?
By electronic slavery, yeah.
We talked about this on iOS Today earlier with Micah Sargent, and what I didn't mention, and at the time, was it's $179.
Yeah, they're real proud of that thing.
Yeah. And by the way, no discount for the smaller one. It's the same price. Actually, I think Micah did point this out. No matter what size phone you're getting, it's $179 even for the iPhone.
But to be fair, they've placed the battery so it doesn't interfere with antennas. It's a very nicely integrated thing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, and also as nice as a lithium blister can look attached to a phone, it looks as nice as such a thing could possibly look.
Nice, soft silicone. I like the rubber. And the main thing is the power thing, that Apple has a little bit of a inside track with this, and so it doesn't put it in plugged in mode.
I believe other companies can do that part too. Apple was just the first one. They usually dog food their APIs first. I believe that's available now. But it's important because if your phone thinks it's plugged in, all of a sudden it's open season on network transfers, syncing, downloading apps, updating everything, and that just drains the battery away.
Right. I want to briefly mention a pick that I discovered a couple of days ago. I haven't had a whole lot of chance to use it, but it's free and it's impressive. It's a screen capture utility built with electrons. So it's not small. It's a 400 megabyte download, but it's absolutely free. It's called Cap, and it works quite well, delivering GIFs, MPEG-4, WebM, or APNG with optional audio. It's pretty sweet. I think they've done a really nice job. It's a open source project, so it's free, and it sits on your tray in your menu, and you can open it up at any time and record your screen. New screen capture, which I have to say is very nicely done, integrates really well into Mac OS. This is for Mac OS, I should point out. Cap, and it's getkap.co if you want to get it. Oh, let's not forget, thank you, Scooter X, in our chat room. And this is one of those things, if you're listening live, it's going to be great for you. If you listen right away, it's going to be great for you, but it's no good tomorrow. For this one day only, November, 26th, Pixelmator Photo for iPad is free. Not $5, which was the earlier low price. Free. It's still not expensive. I don't know what it is now, $20, but free today. So don't waste any time. Pixelmator Photo is a really nice photo editing tool.
It's excellent.
Yeah, I love it. Everybody should have it. So get it while it's free. We're out of time and we're out of material, so I think we should probably just go home. Rene Ritchie is at imore.com/vector. Don't forget to watch that show on a religious basis. That means while you're holding your prayer beads. But we also love having him here every Tuesday. Thank you
so much, Leo.
Andy Ihnatko, thank you for being here. Andy is at WGBH in Boston and at ihnatko.com and on the Twitter, IHNATKO.
Yay.
Thank you, Andrew. Happy Thanksgiving.
Gobble, gobble.
I didn't say it to Rene because he's already eaten his turkey. He's already had his poutine sandwich.
I'm going to eat your turkey, too. I'm celebrating both this year.
Oh, I hate it. Oh, you Canadians have to do your holidays just a little bit in front of ours. I hate that. Alex, Lindsay, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
My in-laws are coming up, and we're all going to have turkey. My mother-in-law is from Louisiana, and she knows how to. We start
Cajun.
Start fasting right now.
Now
and just start prepping for.
I noticed you're a little
onslaught.
darker than you usually are, so I'm thinking you've been in tropical climes.
I was in Cambodia and India.
Oh, in India too.
Yeah. So I was in
both for gigs, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you weren't escaping the law or anything.
No. I was working on a little AR project in Cambodia and then in Bangalore doing some work and then up in Dharamsala.
Fun.
India. So I spent a lot of time.
We've missed you, but I'm glad we're going to have you back here for a few weeks.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dave Hamilton, we love having you on. Mac Observer. I don't know when you're going to be back because Lori Gill's back and Alex are back. But thank you so much for being here last couple of weeks. MacObserver.com, MacGeekGab. Do you have a hard time saying it too?
I used to, but now I can say Mac Geek Gab without any trouble at all. So,
Mac Geek Gab.
Yep, there you go.
Mac Geek Gab.
Yep.
I'll just practice.
Thanks for having me. An honor to be here with the OG crew. It's awesome.
Oh, we always love having you on.
Nice to have you.
Great contribution to the show. And I think I've covered everybody. He's here. Yes. Did I miss anybody? Nope. Thank you. Oh, I forgot you. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate this week with loved ones or, as Andy says, with people you don't like. It doesn't matter. Or just by
Everyone
yourself.
is equal on Black Friday.
Everybody's equal on Black Friday. Yeah, good luck on Black Friday. Yeah. We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday about 11. Well, it varies around 11, between 11 and noon Pacific time. That would be between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time. That would be about 1900 to 2000 UTC. Here's the deal. We have iOS Today before that. So if you tune in anytime on Tuesday, twit.tv/live, you're sure to get some great Apple content. Twit.tv/live for audio or video live streams. If you're watching the live streams, chat with us at irc.twit.tv. A great bunch of people in there. We also have on-demand versions available on our website, twit.tv/mbw. Even information on how to subscribe, and I always like it if you subscribe because not only will you get the show the minute it's available, but you'll also send a little signal to the platform, whatever podcast tool you use, that we're an important podcast still, and that helps us get the word out. So please subscribe. That's a great thing to do. If you're not a live watcher, you might want to visit our community, twit.community. It's a great forum where people who watch the show asynchronously gather to talk, and there's always some great conversations in there. Twit.community. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Now I have to say, sorry. It's time to get back to work because, as we've been saying for the last 15 years, break time is over. Bye-bye.